It's Friday, Feedback Friday, the feedbackiest day of the week. It's Feedback Friday, and this Feedback Friday, you can see what kind of day it is. I did my makeup at my desk. This Feedback Friday, I'm actually going to be addressing the topic of Tuesday's video, but obviously it's the overall kerfuffle, the Hogwarts Legacy thing. Because there's been a lot of talk about it, a lot of private talk about it. And I know that nerves are raw. So I do not shy away from these things. I do not seek out drama. I deal with facts. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I actually care about, not people not having their rights taken away by legislative fiat. So if you like this sort of video, because I will take shit, or it'll be completely ignored by the YouTube algorithm. We don't know these days. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it, coffee.com/LeannaK. And apparently I'm a bad ally this week because I objected to a tactic. I reject that claim because I think that you can be totally for a cause and disagree with the tactic in service of that cause. And I mean, my channel's been gradually bleeding traffic, subscribers, ever since I was like, this is a trans-friendly channel. You don't like it, leave. People have been leaving. Awesome. No problem. I'm fine with that. People can make that choice. But because I don't agree with a tactic, suddenly I don't care about the cause? No, I reject that. You notice I say I reject that. I'm not hurt by it. I don't care. I've been through so many of these things, but I know that other people out there, just based on all the conversations I've had where people are like, this is insane. Like, this is hitting The Last of Us 2 levels of insane. And it's tearing the LGBTQ plus community apart. And it's really a proxy fight. I completely get why trans people are upset. I do. Because I was upset. Legitimately, the crosses in the synagogue bothered me. Because Neil Druckmann on The Last of Us 2 does have Jewish heritage, and he should have known better. And I felt like that was used, and I can't prove it. It just felt like it was used as a shield because they quietly patched it. They didn't say we made a mistake with that. Like, I'm glad it's gone, but it took months, like far too long. And they didn't mea culpa it, which would have helped a lot, helping people understand the issue of cultural erasure. So I completely understand why people are upset, that they're seeing people playing the game, they're seeing people seemingly not care. But that's what I had to tell myself. It's not that people don't care about erasure of Jewish culture. It's just they care about other things more. And I have to persuade them to care. I can't force them to care. I'll make the case. I'll keep at it. I'll get told I hate women and I'm a homophobe by Russian trolls. I stand by what I believe. And my attitude, you guys know, from all the content I've done on this, and I was planting the flag there because I saw this shit coming, because boycotts backfire. But I believe JK Rowling is wrong. I believe she actually is hurting people. I think that she goes beyond hurting people when she does those dog piles. Because if you don't know people are going to attack somebody because of what you say, cool. I mean, People who know me, who follow me, they know if I'm poking fun at somebody, there are still lines, and people really respect that, and they follow my lead, which I really appreciate. But there are some things I have just left alone because I think a person is actually in pain and they're in a vulnerable place, and I'm not going to get them dogpiled. Because the first few times that happens, the first 4 times it happened to me, it was terrifying. And I'm not, Rowling knows her flying monkeys go after people really nasty, like in some cases dox them, in some cases find their employers. She knows this. So that's harm. Now, because of her following, it doesn't matter how much money she continues to make. We can't stop her from doing that. Only Twitter can stop her from doing that, and they won't. We can show it for what it is, which is bad behavior. And this is why the reaction to Hogwarts Legacy and, I said before, focusing on this game gives JK Rowling an unnecessary moral victory, a preventable moral victory. And I want to be totally clear that we don't know that some of these people on Twitch are actually trans activists. They could be trolls. You guys know during Gamergate, I was like, third-party trolls are the worst of it. Last of Us 2, Russian trolls, like other kinds of trolls. I always assume trolls with these things are responsible for the worst behavior, because that's usually the safest bet. If it comes out that somebody very high profile has been actually like bullying people the way JK Rowling is, that's wrong. And that's the problem. This whole tactic was wrong. Instead of taking the game and the attention to the game to explain to people the problems with what JK Rowling is saying and actually move forward, it's creating people who certainly are not going to be inclined to help because they got attacked and they don't know what they did wrong. But also, they might be more inclined to believe people like JK Rowling who are insisting that trans people are a potential danger because they got frightened by people claiming to be trans. And again, please don't jump to that conclusion. We don't know. But seeing streamers break down just because they're playing a video game because a family member was playing a video game, that affects people. This isn't effective tactics. This is backfiring. People are sick of this stuff. And this is why I focus on behavior. And, why I did that thing the last couple weeks saying, what do you guys think? I got your feedback. I focused on behavior. It's like, no, we're going to continue to focus on behavior. We're going to give people presumption of innocence. We're going to give people benefit of the doubt, but we're going to trust but verify. And when things go over the line, we're going to use good judgment. There are certain things that are attacks, and we don't do that here. And I'm doing that for a reason. And it's not to make money. And it's not because it doesn't make you money. It loses you money. Part of it is my own conscience and my need to be consistent. I can't, be doing peer counseling services and be doing mental health stuff when I'm doing stuff that can be reasonably believed to have a detrimental impact on someone's mental health. And this is one case where a lot of people believe you have to choose. You have to choose between the mental health of trans people or the mental health of people who want to play Hufflepuff Simulator. And I think that's a false binary, personally. One person contacted me privately. They are trans, and she said that, I don't think there's any ill intent behind it, but I can't help but see the sir in Sirona Ryan. And I said, the fact that you see it is totally valid. I said, I agree. I don't think the intent was there. But if it stings, it stings. It stung the same way the crosses in the synagogue did. Now, in that case, I actually think that they should have known better. That just being, and this is an example, right, of you need more than one person in a group to run this stuff by. When I do a talk called Accidental Sexism in Game Design at the university level. And I just did the talk yesterday. And one of the things I talk about is you have to involve people in the group, you know, that the sensitive issue is about. And one person can't represent the whole group, right? Some trans people are not going to have an issue. Some trans people are. And that's not a right or wrong thing. That's just... Sometimes it happens. I don't believe for a second that anybody on the dev team wanted it. I do think it's being framed by some to draw attention to themselves as more nefarious than it is. I'm going to leave that there. Because I want to take the rest of this video to refocus and say that this is why, and people have given me such shit for this, but I stand by it. I feel more strongly about this after these events than I did before. Why I object so strongly to JK Rowling's statement, and it was about trans people in this case, but it was a blanket statement she made. It is dangerous to assume, it is dangerous to give blanket presumption of innocence to any group. That's a better sentence than she made. Let me look it up, because I keep correcting her fucking grammar. It is dangerous to assert that any category of people deserves a blanket presumption of innocence. Wrong. That is the same mistake these people attacking streamers for playing Hogwarts Legacy are making. You give presumption of innocence, it's better. It is actually dangerous to not give presumption of innocence. Why? Because you create enemies unnecessarily. Especially now, when trans people are literally dying. We want to keep the fucking temperature down, and we don't want to create enemies. We want to cultivate allies, right? And this doesn't do it. By not giving blanket presumption of innocence to people who stream this fucking game, we are creating problems. Give them presumption of innocence. They do not agree with JK Rowling. They do support trans people. All right. Why was it important to play this game? And that's what I've been doing. And the number of people who are just, I have nostalgia for Harry Potter. I think JK Rowling is a crazy woman. That is the most common thing. But they said, I never read the books. Or I read the books as an adult. I saw the movies as a kid. I don't see it as her thing. I see it as the actors and the filmmakers and all that stuff. That's valid. You know? That's valid. That is not... You know, the argument that JK Rowling is actively putting money into hurting trans people. If you want to believe that, if that gives you comfort, okay. I don't agree. Because she's being sneaky about it. She's giving the money against the Scottish independence movement. Now, why would she do that? Well, there's bigger issues. And one of the things that became... I got very strong opinions for and against was my comment about JK Rowling, you know, being a commoner, living in a castle, and that being very lonely and it not working out the way she wanted it to, you know, and the comment that she's trying to mingle among the purebloods into them. She's always going to be a mudblood, right? And And I had this really good conversation with this one guy who said, I can't prove it. I don't know. I don't agree with you. And it was a really good conversation because it turns out Snape is like one of our favorite characters common in the whole freaking book. No one should be surprised that Snape is one of my favorite characters in Harry Potter. But it was cool. So instead of going, lunge, it ended up being a really good conversation. And I was able to suss out that this, working class dude is fully in favor of trans rights and thinks JK Rowling's wrong. That's all I need, right? That's all I need. Play your Hufflepuff simulator, though I think he's another Slytherin. And again, I get why it bothers people. I get why it hurts to look at the success when I knew that Joss Whedon was abusing women. And seeing the success of the Avengers, it was enraging. It was upsetting. It felt hopeless. But I had to discuss the film on its merits. And I got hand-waved away about the prima nocte joke and the mewling thing. But now people are much more in agreement with me. I still love to poke at the Tony Stark's a war criminal thing because I was actually surprised at the backlash I got. But I made a really great friend out of that one. So it's sort of a fond memory of a dog pile. But, that guy who checked me on the JK Rowling comment, and he said, I like talking about fiction because there's no right or wrong answers. And I said, I agree because I learned something about people. Well, we're talking about these perspectives, and I find it really interesting how people can see the exact same thing and get a completely different interpretation because people are different and people come from different places, and you cannot expect someone to listen. Well, I can't expect someone to listen to me if I'm not showing an ability to listen to them. And again, I can completely validate the hurt that a lot of people are feeling. I cannot validate taking that hurt and using it to attack and verbally brutalize people because that's what JK Rowling does. And when you are so off the hook that you forget that presumption of innocence is exactly what JK Rowling is trying to take off the table, because that means that trans people need to prove they are not dangerous instead of us presuming they are safe until we have evidence otherwise. She wins. So if you're presuming gamers hate trans people because they play a game, she wins. That's what's fucking diabolical. Excuse the Billy Butcher. That's what's fucking diabolical about what JK Rowling's doing. She has set this fucking thing up in an emotional, argumentative paradigm. And I hate emotional reasoning for this reason. She has so charged things that she has programmed people to actually think the way she's claiming against their best interest. And that's why this has pissed me off so bad. Because Trixie Habitus, right? Like, she's done this blood magic dark curse on people. She has mind controlled people. She has managed to make people feel so threatened that they played right into her hands. And that is not her fault. She is a canny manipulator. She's a grade A gaslighter, and it worked. Now what? We suck back, reload. We give people presumption of innocence. We accept that people do things when they are upset. The same way I have given that presumption of innocence to everybody right on down the line the entire time I've been doing this. I got excommunicated from the game journalism circles for saying, I don't think all pro-Gamergate types are sexist, misogynist. I think some of them are just really hurt and want the games press to stop kicking them. I have been consistent on this one. And that's why I draw lines on behavior. That after a certain behavior, no, I no longer think you are coming at this in good faith. And the only reason that's effective is because I come into it initially going, I am going to give you the presumption of good faith, the presumption of innocence, until you give me reason not to. That's powerful. Because what that does is it is consistent. Trans people deserve an easier road to transition because presumption of innocence. Unless there is some sort of active red flag on their file, they are who they say they are, right? Unless there's some proof that they're being duplicitous, we take them at their word about who they are, because the best expert on anybody is that person, right? Presumption of innocence. Similarly, trans women convicted of nonviolent crimes who happen to be in prison should not be in a men's prison. Violent people are violent people. Nonviolent people are not violent people. They shouldn't be in with potential predators. They're more likely to be the victims of a violent act than the perpetrators. They belong, I think personally, because of the medical needs and everything like that, there should be separate wings or separate prisons. But I do think trans women should be in women's prisons unless they have a history of violence against women. And I think that men with a history of violence, like serious violence against men, should not be in with men who aren't. You know, if a guy is convicted of raping men, he shouldn't be put in a prison where he can continue to rape men. That's fucking wrong. Right? That's wrong. That has nothing to do with the person. That has everything to do with the behavior. Presumption of innocence. Right? And I cannot now be a hypocrite and go, oh, I'm going to assume that everybody playing this game is doing it because they secretly hate trans people or don't care or whatever. And now, you know, people are trying to raise money for things like the Trevor Project or trans charities. People are like, that's not good enough. You know, no, I'm sorry. That is raising more money for the right causes than it is for JK Rowling's anti-Scottish independence rant. Or, you know, if she wants to open up women's shelters only for cisgender women, good fucking luck to her, because I'd like to know how they're proving it. Because if she's running shelters where they are doing genital examinations on rape victims, that's re-traumatizing. That's not going to last long. Let her have her fucking stunts. It's her money. She can do what she wants with them. When she does something, when she gives money to an actively trans charity, and some people are saying she's cozying up to LGB Alliance. She's serving as a messenger for LGB Alliance. Yes, absolutely true. And that's why we can say she is a transphobe. And that's why when people are like, JK Rowling said nothing transphobic. Not true. Not true. Not true. If anybody can look that presumption of innocence comment bald in the face and agree with her, you either don't believe in the presumption of innocence for all people blanket, and that's the problem with the statement. Any group deserves presumption of innocence because all groups deserve presumption of innocence. And some people say, well, individuals deserve presumption of innocence, but groups don't. Bullshit. A black man deserves as much presumption of innocence as a white man. And the reason a lot of black men do not get the same presumption of innocence as white men by law enforcement is because they are part of the group black men. No blanket presumption of innocence for groups. Yes, we do that. That's why we do it. Right? That's why. All people deserve it. All. You cannot just go, well, I don't like this about you, so now you don't get presumption of innocence. And presumption of innocence doesn't mean getting someone off scot-free. No, presumption means this is how we work until we're presented evidence otherwise. Right? Right. That's what presumption means. It doesn't mean guaranteed innocence. It means presumption. of innocence. Funda-fucking-mental. And if we don't give presumption of innocence to the people streaming this game, JK Rowling fucking wins. Now, I'm calling out Hassan Piker on this because he didn't stream the game and then he went on Twitch, oh, we're scared to stream the game. Fuck you, man. That is bad allyship. Fuck you. Play the game if you want to fucking play it. Don't play the game if you actually stand with trans people. If you want to be counted, stand up and be fucking counted. Don't try to have this both ways. I am not. I decided not to play the game, even though I probably would have gotten a lot of traffic for doing it. I played The Last of Us 2 because it's the highest rated stream I've ever done, The Last of Us 2, because of the controversy. I didn't do it this time. I took the hit because I don't support JK Rowling. That's my position. I'm leaving it open for other people to make other choices, but holy fucking shit, I am not complaining about it. I made a choice. I am not claiming I was coerced in it. And especially fuck Hassan Piker because he came after me over Mortal Kombat 11 for my views and daring to have my views. So fuck you. You'll do it to other people, but then you'll complain when it's done to you. I have no respect for that. And he's done some other good things. You know, he has put his profile where his mouth was on other things. He's supported other causes, but on this one, he's been a fucking coward and disingenuous to boot. And people like that should know better. But the average person who just doesn't understand, no, they deserve better. You know, somebody who is a strong, active trans ally isn't going to stream that game, isn't going to buy that game. I know people who are like, I'm curious about it, but I'll play it on Game Pass or I'll do it, you know. I haven't even seen Avatar 2 yet because I just find James Cameron so distasteful I can't bring myself to do it. But that doesn't mean I think that other people shouldn't enjoy the movie. I'm consistent. And ultimately, if you're not consistent, if you are a hypocrite, people are not going to listen to you. People, especially in the gaming space, one, we've been told we're bad people because we played a video game so many times. We're sick of it by now. We don't listen to anybody who does that. But two, authenticity and consistency matters. People have been so burned by so many things. They are hyper aware that there are some people out to use them. And also, gamers are just incredibly systemic thinkers. So you can't say to them, well, presumption of innocence for trans people, but I'm not going to give it to you. You have to set an example as a progressive. You have to model the behavior, the tolerance, the kindness, and the understanding that you want people to adopt. You cannot scream at people to be nicer to people while you are being cruel to them. You can't. They see through it. People are not stupid. It's obvious that that's do as I say, not as I do. And you can't get upset when someone has a bad reaction in response to that. And so to the people that have had a bad experience, to people that have people come after them because of this, I'm sorry that happened. It was wrong. And I say that's wrong because, again, you weren't given presumption of innocence. The group of people who played Hogwarts Legacy was not given blanket presumption of innocence. And that's wrong. If people are playing the game and making transphobic comments, if people are going, I did it to spite trans people, the people who are sending Avada Kedavra to Jesse Gender, no, that's where presumption of innocence ends. Because it's a presumption, not a guarantee. And that is why JK Rowling's comment was wrong. That is why it is actively transphobic. Because when one group of people makes you forget, makes you argue against a right given to all people, and you're doing it because you really, really hate that group of people, or you're afraid of that group of people, that's bias, that's bigotry. And that's why that comment, out of everything, I can see, yeah, okay. I mean, no, she didn't actually say she thinks anybody who buys one of her products agrees with her. She said basically, I don't care, I'm fucking rich. When someone said, how do you feel about destroying your legacy? It's, well, I see my latest royalty checks and I feel just fine. Basically, that's not the same thing. That's not the same thing. But she did argue taking away presumption of innocence for groups of people. That is abhorrent. That is what happens to Black America. That is what happened to Indigenous Canadians. That's what's happening to trans people with this fucking bathroom thing. They are being denied the presumption of innocence that all humans, groups of humans everywhere have a right to have. Don't repeat the mistake. Thank you for letting me speak. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it, can't afford it, coffee.com/LeannaK. Now, if you did get caught up in this and you did do these things that are now feeling called out, it's okay. You got caught up. I'm fine with it. We can all just move on. Let's just fucking move on. Because I'm giving the people who got caught up in it presumption of innocence as well. That they just got caught up. They acted out of fear. They acted out of panic. It happens. Let's learn from this and be better to each other. For fuck's sakes, let's not let, the Queen of Turf Island win the war. She's won this round. She won this battle. She played this whole thing like a fiddle. But there's a larger war. We can still win it. So thanks for watching and have a good weekend. Everyone, have a good, gentle, healing, kind weekend. Thanks for watching.